guys, it's the Captain here from Andertons. And look at the two people that have turned up in the store today. Keith Merrow, Jeff Loomis. And they're here in the UK on a Schecter tour, talking about the guitars that the guys have designed with Schecter for 2014. You're going to hear some playing, some insane playing. It's amazing to have you guys over.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us.
So before we start talking about Schecter though, you've got some pretty amazing news on the album you just launched. So this is your Conquering Dystopia band.
Yeah. We got a new project called Conquering Dystopia. Jeff and I put together. We just released it. Last Monday?
Last Monday.
Yeah,
about a week and a half ago.
Doing pretty good, having fun out here playing some songs, and we just found out today that it made it onto the Billboard charts in the States. So
which is just crazy. Isn't
it's pretty crazy for an unsigned, non-label project with no physical release, so we're pretty proud of that. I think it's cool.
It's awesome, and you can basically find out more about these guys' bands by just googling Conquering Dystopia.
ConqueringDystopia.com.
ConqueringDystopia.com.
Yeah. And where's that name from?
Well, it's kind of a funny story, but as you know, Lee, I'm a YouTube guy, and I sort of kind of came from where everybody else starts out at, and have kind of worked my way up. And made it into a profession. And I was mowing my lawn, and I was kind of reflecting on my life the past few years, and how awesome things have been, and how life before all this was pretty mundane. Had a regular job and sort of hated it.
Hated life,
and so a dystopia is kind of a world in disarray.
Right.
And I was just sitting there thinking about how much things have changed and how fortunate I am, and I sort of conquered my own dystopia.
Cool.
So that's what it means to me. But of course, it's metal, and it's pretty universal.
That's a nice. But music has a way. I think everybody can conquer their own dystopia.
Sure,
absolutely.
So I mean, that's sort of what it reflects for me.
So there's the Keith Lemon. What's the meaning question that I had to ask.
Yeah.
But, it's
what's
cool.
the meaning of life?
So let's talk about guitars. You've been a Schecter artist for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, a good seven years, I would say, something like that.
And what was it that first attracted you to the kind of the Schecter thing?
Well, I was looking for a new 7-string to play, and I basically fell upon a website called DrumCityGuitarland.com, which is a great website, by the way, great music store located in Colorado, and bought my first Schecter guitar on that website. And really loved it, and ended up playing that particular guitar for one Nevermore tour, which was, of course, the band that I was in. And I think the guys at Schecter kind of just caught notice of that, and were like, hey, we'd like to endorse you and send you a few pieces and see what you think. About a year rolled by, and then I got a call from the vice president, Mark LaCourte, and asked me if I would like to do a Jeff Loomis signature model. And just about dropped the phone, It's pretty exciting when you hear stuff like that, It's really awesome, of course. And we spent about the next 8 or 9 months designing the guitar to my specs, and this is the first version of it right here. And this is the JL7 for 2014, which, as you can see, there's quite a few changes on it. It's got a skinnier body design and neck design based on the SLS shape.
And what's that? That's a weight thing, is it? You just want
really just a lighter version of the guitar. I wanted to thin up the neck a little bit too, just for easier playability. As you can see here as well, there is a cutaway, which really allows easy access to the 24th fret, where it was a little bit harder on this model.
Show me the back of this one.
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, I see the extended little bit here.
I get it. Yeah, absolutely nothing in the way now. Just full on get to the 24th fret. Stainless steel frets on this.
They're real jumbo frets as well, aren't they?
Real jumbo, which I think is just, it makes it easier for bending and just super silky and smooth, of course. This is a really cool feature, the glow-in-the-dark dots on the side for dark stages.
You know what?
They light up really bright.
You probably can't see, but if you just look on the edge of your guitar, you'll probably see these little dots that are about a millimeter apart, a millimeter wide. Fret markers, and I saw Keith's guitar,
a huge one,
and I'm like, why do you have such massive fret markers? And he's like, they glow in the dark, man. Yeah. And I see Jeff's is the same. It's like
just the other day in my studio, I had I just turned the lights off, and they glow really bright, and you can literally play in the dark.
It's a really cool color, kind of bluish green.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It really helps. I've been on many dark stages, and I can see where that could be really beneficial. So, but yeah, I think the biggest change is just the unfinished neck.
Because the previous model is not a lacquered neck, though, is it? It's just stained.
It's stained,
but it's a different. You've gone for like a 5-piece, and this looks like it's a 3-piece neck on here or something. So
exactly. I love the feel of it. It's just it's nice in the hands for me. It's really cool.
Thinner, isn't it? Is it just your guitar that has the carbon steel reinforcer, or have you both gone for that kind of vibe?
I believe just this model does. Yeah, it's got the carbon fiber reinforcements, and this is a 3-piece maple neck, and they put those in there, and it keeps tuning really, really well.
Have you always been a maple neck guy over rosewood?
I always loved the maple neck. Just the aesthetics of it, the looks of it, the brightness of it. I love. Just always been a fan.
It's got a bit more of a natural look now.
Yeah, it's a bit brighter, of course, than this.
There's a little tint, isn't there? On this one?
I think it looks a lot better. EMG 5766 pickups, which just kind of like a little more of an organic sound, really.
Are these the traditional
707s?
Oh, okay.
Yes, and I love these. They're super clean for pick attack.
Yeah.
Really get the nuance of the pick when it hits the string, which I really love that sound when I'm playing.
So this is going to appeal more to your perhaps old school EMG fan that just likes that kind of, just wants to gun it all the time.
Yeah.
And these have got a lot more dynamics in them, haven't they?
Yes, absolutely. And the last feature I would say that's just really cool is just the switching of the volume knob and the pedal switch, which was Keith's idea, actually, because I've always had the problem of, when I'm playing rhythm stuff, I'm always hitting my volume knob, and sometimes it's halfway down after a take or something. It's kind of irritating. So I just got it out of the way. And of course, when you're playing leads, it's very easy to just...
It's almost more typically where you'd have a blade switch on a Strat or something, rather than tucked away a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Floyd Rose, or your option of a Hipshot standard bridge, comes in the Vampire Satin Red, just like this, or I switched up to Gloss Black this time, which I think just looks super solid.
It's classy looking.
The previous one was more like a satin stained black, wasn't it?
And that's the JL7 for 2014.
Well, we're going to talk about Keith's guitar in a second here as well, but we're going to get Jeff and Keith to sign some guitars as well. So we've got a couple of the 2013 models left and a couple of the 2014 models that they're going to sign. So check those out on the Andertons website if you fancy one of those. Let's talk about this. So,
boom.
Now I know, just because I'm a Facebook fan of yours, fanboy. Yeah.
We've worked together before.
We've worked. Yeah. Look, that a lot of people have built you a 7-string guitar, haven't you? And I know everybody on YouTube is going to want to ask the Chapman question, so we might as well just chuck it out there. Keith very, very kindly helped do some of the initial stages of the Chapman ML7, but then sort of halfway through that project, kind of got an offer he couldn't refuse.
Yeah,
but prior to that, you'd kind of, like a ton of other 7-string guys, had chucked you guitars, and you sort of.
I got to play a lot of different models and a lot of different custom shop stuff, production stuff, many different guitars. The cool thing about that is it allowed me to sort of figure out what I like.
Exactly. I think that's important, isn't it? That's the only way you can really. You just got to play a lot of guitars.
Yeah. There's certain features I was like, that's not for me, and then there's certain things you fall in love with, and when it came to speccing this thing out, I pretty much knew what I wanted. It wasn't very difficult to say, okay, well, I know what my perfect guitar is going to be.
So what have you, what is it that you're sort of most proud of, if you like, as part of this guitar?
Well, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, to have a signature guitar is a pretty awesome thing. I told myself I wasn't going to do it again.
Really?
The signature guitar thing.
Okay.
I was, kind of like, well, I like a lot of different things, but I wasn't sold on the idea of having a signature guitar, that anybody would even like it. But when Schecter approached me and they said, well, design something, you can do whatever you want. And, by that time I went, okay, well, I know what guitars that I've played that sound good. I know what I wanted. So I basically went for this. And it's got a swamp ash body. I'm pretty partial to that. It's lightweight. It's real snappy.
Is this swamp ash?
This is swamp ash.
Yeah.
This is ash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I see.
It's much lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can tell.
Oh, wow.
Easier in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. And what, with a flame maple cap on it? Or?
Yeah, it's got a flame maple top on it with a rather cool looking, unique satin trans white finish on it.
I love this finish. Yeah, I said it kind of looks, if you can imagine one of those cold frosty mornings just as the mist is clearing and then a guitar appears through the mist.
It's hard to photograph, and it's hard to video. You can't really appreciate how cool it looks until you get it in front of you. Yeah.
And now, of course, you guys that will know Keith from YouTube, he's works with Seymour Duncan as well. So this was a set of pickups that you were part of the design team on as well?
Yeah, I helped prototype these from beginning to end, all the way to the production models. So we have the Seymour Duncan Sentient in the neck, which is sort of like a cross between a Jazz and a 59, if anyone's familiar with those.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a hybrid between those two sounds.
Do you know what, that's the Strat that I play, and it's this pickup that I've put on every guitar I've ever owned in the neck position is a Jazz pickup. The
you can't go wrong with that.
Is it called an SH4? No, what's the Jazz?
That's SH2.
SH2.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, half of me thinks, if Seymour Duncan would just change the name of that pickup, all of a sudden they'd probably sell 20 times as many, because it's completely, I mean, I guess you would play jazz with it, but it's one of the, if you like that real, probably a little bit like you're trying to do with that, if you like the neck pickup to just be that really backed off, dynamic, kind of fat sound, it's one of the best pickups I've ever had.
Yeah, great for cleans, great for solos. And then in the bridge we have the Nazgul pickup, which I'm particularly proud of, because, starting from a 7-string platform is where it started at. You can take some of their existing pickups and adapt them to 7-string, like they had the distortion 7-string and things like that. But this was made specifically with 7-string in mind. And we went through a bunch of different versions of it. I got to try pretty much every flavor of this pickup until finally deciding on this one. And for this particular guitar, I tried the whole line of Seymour Duncan pickups in it, and ended up with this one because it's real tight, real clean. It's just a great high gain pickup, and in this guitar in particular, I thought it sounded really awesome. So that's what we went with.
And you've obviously you've stuck with the sort of more traditional switch.
Yeah, I'm primarily a rhythm guy, so I wanted to get them out of the way. Does have a coil split on it, which is cool, and just a standard 3-way.
I didn't realise it's unusual to get an active pickup that you can coil split, isn't it?
Well, these are passive.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
They just look like.
Yeah, they just have metal covers on them, but they are full passive pickups.
Fair enough.
So yeah, they're.
I'll do my research.
This is more of a moderate output pickup, and this is considered to be a high output pickup, but in terms of high output pickups, I'd say it's more on the lower end of a high output pickup. So.
Is this an ebony board or just a real dark rosewood?
Ebony.
Board, yeah.
Stainless steel frets. We did cool offset dot inlays. They flop when it gets up to the 12th. I thought that was kind of a cool change there. Tusk nut on there. Schecter locking tuners, which are awesome. Yeah, I've tried a lot of different locking tuners, and I was really surprised with how awesome. Sometimes when you get like a stock guitar, the factory tuners are kind of, that you can tell that might be a spot where they cut a corner, but on these they're awesome.
you here, it's kind of cool to see two artists using the stock guitars that just come out. You know, so if you go into your local Schecter dealer and you see the Jeff Loomis or the Keith Merrow hanging on the wall, you haven't got like a different version of that.
It's always a question that's brought up in clinics. You know, the kids want to know if these are the actual guitars that we use, and they are. No modifications whatsoever. Just our choice of strings that we put on our instruments, but everything you see here as it comes off.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's,
the shelf
you
is
know,
what we use.
Without sort of naming and shaming, that's unusual, isn't it?
Well,
a little bit. And sometimes, you know, the artist models are sort of ghost built by another, you know, custom shop or something, and then they send it to you, and that's what you use. But I think it's kind of cool because Schecter didn't want to have it any other way.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to have it any other way. You know, if I'm gonna back a guitar and put my name on it, you know, I want to know what other people are using and be happy with it as well. So they nailed it, and you know, I think a lot of people are gonna like it as well.
Yeah.
I think you know you got a reputation on YouTube as being a pretty honest guy about tone and what you know. So I think that's good to hear because
sometimes to a fault.
Yeah, but you know that I think because you know you had I remember once you had an offer on the table for a 7-string that was worth thousands and thousands of dollars, and you kind of just sort of went, look, you know, politely, but this is just, you know, it's not right for me.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, that's kind of refreshing, isn't it, to see that you know you two guys obviously you want to play guitars that. You know, if you're going to put your name on them, you want to know that when, you know, some fan of yours that's just had to save up, you know, a year's worth of money to try and buy one, you want to know that they're getting the same guitar that you got.
Very consistent.
Yeah.
Prices
and the cool thing is, you know, I spec'd this out just like I would a custom shop guitar.
Yeah.
You know, so it's stripped down, it's basic, it's clean, you know, and it plays really, really well.
What are the plans now for seeing Conquering Dystopia going forward? Do you think it's going to be tours or?
We've had some talks about it, and we're sort of have a few things that we're working on, but nothing nothing to announce just yet.
Yeah, it's like this whole project started off as just a kind of a project, really. It's just to release an album that Keith and I wanted to do together, and lots of things are popping up for us right now, and it's we're just kind of going with the flow, you know. Why not?
I do remember, probably going back. Oh, you'll know better than me, but 2 years, maybe 3 years. It must have been your first opportunity to work with Jeff. And some of the posts that you would put on Facebook, it was just like you just didn't. It was almost like, you know, one of my guitar heroes. I get to meet him.
It's still
and then,
that
like,
way.
2 years later, you're actually doing albums.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. It's still that way. I mean, you know, he's one of my biggest inspirations.
Oh man,
right here,
that's great to hear that, man. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure working with you too. We've just been having the greatest time. So
That's mad.
Every day is a new.
A new laugh,
and a new thing. You know, it's every day's been so cool since we've been here. So really been enjoying ourselves.
And Keith's got some real solid kind of, you know, rhythm chops down there.
He's the king.
Like, you got some crazy. I know every time you do a clinic, everybody's going to ask, you know, so how'd you get that kind of good? And it's like there is no secret formula, is there?
I guess it's just a lot of playing, man. You know, putting in the time, and you know, in my past with Nevermore, there's been a lot of times where I've done a lot of improv, you know, in my solo stuff, and everything on the Conquering Dystopia album was really worked out, and you know, because Keith has a lot of changes, you know, key changes and stuff, so I really had to pay close attention to that so it would flow nicely, and it was a real challenge, you know. It was awesome. It was so much fun to work on. Every day was a new vibe, you know. So tried to keep it interesting. You know?
I got to ask you guys. I know it's a Schecter video, and apologies for bombing the Facebook the Schecter video. Kemper.
Yes.
So this is the future, is it now? You guys thinking that's just the way to go? And
it's incredible.
I absolutely love it, and I've loved it since day one. You know, I've been using them for a couple of years now, and the cool thing about it is the tones that we played with today are the same tones that we used on the album.
Yeah. Keeps it consistent.
So it keeps it consistent. We go around to the clinics, and it's the same awesome sound every night. and it just works
Do you
fantastic.
think it suits that kind of tight, high gain music better than going out with traditional backline, or do you think it's almost an alternative for any?
I wouldn't
kind of
say it's
music?
necessarily better, but I'd say it's just as good. And for sake of ease, coming all the way to Europe with a head and cabinet, or getting backline and wheeling it
It came
around.
with a USB stick.
Yeah, we loaned these from Kemper when we got here. So we showed up with a USB stick, we plugged it in, and we had our sound right there.
Yeah.
So
It's the future, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It's
It's
pretty rad.
it's crazy. Well, look, it's been a super pleasure having you guys over. I hope everybody else in the UK's been as welcoming.
Thank you very
to
much
you.
for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
No, thank you very much. And I gather you're a fan now of our English food, so we should go and get some, shouldn't we?
Scottish eggs or
Shepherd's pie.
shepherd's pie.
Fish
and
and
chips.
Fish and chips. Yep.
Right.
I'm
so
into
anyway,
it.
I'll see you next time. Bye bye.